mean, I get that Ye is out there, interview after interview, doubling down, tripling down, saying all the same stuff, and it's costing him financially. Okay, that's America. But it swung back on you guys because Candace is his friend and has defended him and has tried to say she didn't really think he was being anti-Semitic in these comments, and kind of tried to find an angle for him that would help others make sense of this in a way that wouldn't lead you thinking this is a wild anti-Semite. So then, as I understand it, everybody turned to you guys, you and Ben, are like, fire her ass. So it's went from like, Ye needs to lose his Adidas deal to Candace needs to be fired from the Daily Wire. Ben's been outspoken about anti-Semitism. And this is like massively hypocritical for him to only say, I disagree with Candace. They want her to be punished. They want disassociation, cancellation, so on. Do you think have I adequately summed up where we are right now?
Yeah, I think you have, and I appreciate it. I think that if Candace were here, she would say that she has not defended Ye's actual remarks in almost every statement she's made, but in particular her earliest statement. She said, listen, I think that Kanye West is my friend, and I think that there are accusations being made against him that are beyond, they're disproportionate to the things that he's actually said. But this is not me trying to defend the actual remarks that he made.
I think I said she defended him, and I think that's fair.
That's right. I think she defended her friend Kanye. Listen, Candace actually called me. People don't realize this. When I first heard about this controversy, I was in Jerusalem observing Sukkot with Ben. And I got a call that perhaps we were anti-Semites, which I thought, well, that's probably absurd on its face, but okay, what's going on? Candace called me and she said, I have my premiere for my movie tomorrow, George Floyd and the Rise of BLM, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold. She said, and, I've invited Ye to the premiere. Should I uninvite him? And at that point, it was immediately after all this had first broken, I looked at the comments that he had made on Twitter, and I said at the time, they're definitely anti-Semitic statements. I don't know if there's enough evidence at this point to conclude that he's an anti-Semite, but certainly these are disgusting statements. I said, and I appreciate you offering not to bring him to the premiere. I said, I think, though, I'm not going to ask you to pile on. I'm not going to ask you to disassociate. The actual person, Candace, is actually friends with the actual person, Kanye West. I said, I don't want you to feel that you have to disassociate from him. I don't want him to speak. I don't want him to be an official part of the event. But from my point of view, you can invite him. And listen, I make probably 20 decisions a day that have some existential impact on the company, and they're not all the correct decision. If I'd known the things that Ye was going to go on and say over the next 14 days, I probably would have made a different decision. But I think it's an interesting piece of color that from the very beginning, Candace wanted to shield the Daily Wire from the potential fallout from his remarks and understood that the things that he said were offensive, understood that they were consequential. At the same time, as I say, he's her actual friend, and Candace has a superpower, and one of the things that one of the consequences of her superpower is that she sees everyone sometimes as a nail, and she raced in to defend her friend, not his remarks, but her friend, in the way that she races in to fight all of her battles, and that's caused a little bit of discomfort from us over at the Daily Wire, but I think it's perfectly understandable from her point of view.
I've listened to her, and I'm her fan, as my audience knows. She's been on the program. She seems to be getting it, and you guys seem to be getting it, in part because Ben's been appropriately outspoken about anti-Semitism.
Right.
And I think his fans want to hear him be outspoken about this, and he has. He's condemned the Ye remarks in no uncertain terms, and he's also said, I strongly disagree with Candace's interpretation of all of these.
Right.
They feel like now, trying to put, sort of characterization on the objectors, they feel like it's not enough. Like it's not okay for Ben to chalk this up to agree to disagree, as opposed to like, you're now standing up for this guy who's obviously, in their view, an anti-Semite, and that takes away all of your credibility to call others out on anti-Semitic remarks.
Well, I don't think it compromises our credibility vis-a-vis anti-Semitism at all. To suggest that the Daily Wire or Ben Shapiro are somehow not anti-Semitism enough, I think is absurd on its face. But I think there are kind of two camps of criticism. There's some legitimate criticism. Perhaps we should have handled it differently. As I say, if I knew everything 2 weeks ago that I know today, I would have taken Candace up on her offer not to have Ye at the premiere of her documentary. I didn't know all of that at the time. I think that there's also people who, are disappointed in what they perceive to be our response, who, after they speak to us, they reach out in good faith, have a conversation. They may still not agree with all of our decisions along the way, but for the most part, they understand our decision-making once they talk to us. I also think there's kind of a focused opposition that's being largely driven by disgruntled former employees of the Daily Wire. And Daily Wire is a hard place to work. Not everybody makes the cut. And a few of the people who didn't make it, I think, have been looking for an opportunity to play out their resentments. And some of the really focused attacks are coming from that group.
But is that? Can I ask? Is that Eli Steinberg? Because he wrote for you guys in addition to Newsweek and The Federalist, and he ripped you guys a new one, as you probably saw.
Yeah, I read his piece. I didn't know Eli Steinberg had ever written for us. I will say that I thought it was one of the most deceitful, disingenuous pieces I've ever read. He characterizes Ben's tweets completely falsely and deliberately so. And then later, when it suits his purpose, he actually embeds several tweets. But he doesn't embed the ones that he misrepresents, which I found really interesting. Oh. He's essentially trying to make the case that Ben, for financial reasons, is not living up, to his responsibility as an outspoken opponent of anti-Semitism and firing Candace Owens. But look, here's the thing. First of all, Ben is not an executive in this company. Ben's not the majority owner of this company. Ben's not in a position to hire or fire anyone in the company. He is an owner. He's a founder. He has obviously an enormous influence on what happens in the company, but he's in no position to fire Candace Owens. And the suggestion that he should just fire her, I think, just misunderstands the reality of the business altogether. Secondly, if Ben were in that position, he still wouldn't fire Candace, because Candace Owens is not an anti-Semite, because Candace Owens isn't the one who said all the vile, disgusting, ignorant things. That's Ye West. If Ye West works here, we would have fired him. He doesn't. Candace does. Do I agree with everything Candace has said? Again, no. Does Ben agree? No. I've had some real rows with Candace over the last 14 days, probably the biggest disagreements that we've ever had. But agreeing with Ben Shapiro and agreeing with Jeremy Boring all the way down to every jot and tittle is not the job description of a host at the Daily Wire. Would that it were. I disagree with all the guys quite often. It'd be terrific if they just said everything that I think. No, well, not Knowles. That guy, he's right about everything.
Never Knowles. No, what about, I'm interested in what you said, that if you knew then what you know now about Kanye's thoughts, you would not have wanted him at her movie premiere, which was a Daily Wire, produced film.
A Daily Wire event, yeah.
So
sure.
Why? I mean, because he has been quadrupling and quintupling down. What is it about what he said after all the controversial tweets and Insta posts that changed your view on him?
I suppose only this, that someone like Morgan Wallen can make a comment, use a Rachel epithet in what he thought was a private setting. And we can say, well, that's inappropriate. It's not fair. Or it's not right. It's not seemly. It's maybe ignorant, but I don't know that it's evidence necessarily that the guy is a racist. I think you'd need to know a little bit more than just what he popped off when he was drunk to conclude that he's a racist. And that's kind of how I viewed the situation with Kanye. He definitely said some things that were anti-Semitic. The comments themselves were anti-Semitic. I didn't think that necessarily evidenced that he was an anti-Semite. But then he's clarified what he thought since then. As to your point, he's doubled down, he's tripled down, he's continually, every day, every interview, continued to say these really vile, ignorant things. And at a certain point, you actually just have to say, well, this isn't an accident. This isn't a lapse of judgment. He's expressing what he thinks. And to the extent
I accept
that
you for who you're telling me you are.
Exactly. So had that listen, I still, to this day, don't ask Candace to publicly repudiate her friend. I think that it's unfair to expect someone to publicly repudiate their friend. That's a private issue when you have an actual friendship with someone. But I wouldn't have wanted Kanye to be at the event if I had known that he actually thought the things that he's made clear now that he thinks.
You know who doesn't have spooky meats? Good Ranchers. They deliver America's best meat and seafood to you year-round. No costume of labels, no gimmicks, just great meat that shows up right at your door. Their October Feast special just got even better. You can get up to 4 pounds of meat for free. Think about that, 4 pounds. That's a lot. That would cost you a lot in the grocery store. Order any box and get over 2 pounds of their better than organic chicken breasts for free. And if your order is over $300 worth of delicious meat, you will also get 2 pounds of their Wagyu ground beef thrown in there too. Treat yourself. Head on over to goodranchers.com/Megyn, and that's how you will claim your special October feast of 4 free pounds of meat today. Join the tens of thousands of Americans getting 100% American meat delivered right to their door. Store-bought meat can be tainted with scary bacteria, and it has ghoulish inflated prices to boot. Good Ranchers lets you save $25 on every box and lock in your price when you subscribe. Put an end to your meat buying nightmare by visiting goodranchers.com/Megyn to get over 4 pounds of high-quality beef and chicken for free. The real monster is not under your bed. It's actually in your fridge. Take control over your food with an October feast from Good Ranchers. American meat delivered. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.